and welcome once again to another day, another dolly. Today we have the Miraculous Season 6 Ladybug and Cat Noir 2-pack gift set. Now, this was planned to be Amazon exclusive. It is unfortunately currently unavailable at this time. However, based on the Playmates site, it does list the dolls coming individually for 2026. So we can always hope for that or a restock. I wish you guys the best of luck. I got these guys on pre-order. Actually, they were an early birthday present from my husband and daughter, so yay. But I was super excited about these guys. I had a chance to take a quick look because as you might notice, they're not in the box. My daughter was so excited when I got them because she loves Ladybug as well that she just had to see them. And I wasn't gonna deny her that. So they are out of the box, but we will take a look. And I've already had an opportunity to get some initial thoughts, but I'll share those in just a moment. So without further ado, let's take a look here at the packaging. We have some nice new Season 6 art of Cat Noir and Ladybug. And of course, traditional with their usual boxes, a picture of the Eiffel Tower inside. The back is a bigger version of their Season 6 art with Plag and Tiki included respectively. This is a new team assembles, a new villain rises. And those of you that have been watching Season 6 know exactly what that is about. But for those of you who don't, I won't spoil. This is just the side panel with Cat Noir on one side. Of course, Ladybug on the other. Standard box, nice enough. Don't know if I'm going to keep the whole box, to be honest, but I might cut out that back art because that looks pretty nice. And I mean, free poster, woohoo. So I'll turn that around so you don't have to stare at the innards of the box. And we can start by looking at our brand new dolls. Now, at first I originally wanted to compare them to the not Time to Team Up, sure. The, Mission Accomplished. I wanted to compare them to the Mission Accomplished 2-pack. However, I modified mine quite a bit where it wasn't going to be a fair comparison, so that's why I did not bring those two. However, we will still compare them to previous dolls after we take a look at them proper. So let's start with Ladybug. And we can see they have changed up her face again. I feel like of the face-ups for Ladybug, this one does look fairly accurate to her Season 6 art. We have her classic blue eyes. As always, her mask. Classic look as always. Mine seems to have the black paint going over the edge slightly, which is a little annoying. Not super noticeable. Now it's gonna bother me. It didn't before. Her dark blue hair is gelled. There seems to be strips of red in there consistent with her new art. However, this is like hard as a helmet. Like, if you want to brush this hair at all, you are gonna need to give it a wash. On the other hand, will probably stand up pretty well if a toddler tries to play with it, so there's that. And she is wearing her Season 6 outfit. It has a high collar and, of course, more black designs than her initial outfit. This is, I think, based on her Lucky Charm design, but they went with it for the Season 6. I really appreciate it because her uniform was kind of one of the most bland. She does come with her yo-yo, smaller than some iterations, but no pun intended. But it has a small Velcro patch right here on her backside that this yo-yo can attach to, so she can just wear it when she's not using it. which is pretty handy. It's also about the right size for her hand, but it doesn't stay very well, so just beware, because that is an incredibly small piece. Now her hands are fairly, let's see if we can get that in the shot, fairly dainty. Look about like they usually do on these dolls. And her shoes are beautiful as far as they gave us black painted soles, and they gave us spot painted on the top of the red. They look nice. They're probably some of the nicest shoes I've seen on a Ladybug doll. Most of you are probably familiar with what we usually get. They're nice. I wish they had made the pants a little longer to tuck into them smoothly, but it's nice. As for articulation, we get, sadly, this is what we get for the arms, all the way up, all the way out. It's just your basic arm. There is no elbow on these ones. Playmates used to have the double hinge elbow for these and a swivel wrist, which was a little odd. It didn't have a hinge like most doll wrists, nothing crazy like a Made to Move Barbie, but it did have the double hinge at the elbow. That is gone with these. I don't know if that's going to be all of the season 6 dolls and moving forward, but I was a little disappointed to see that. However, we still do have the double jointed knees, so you can at least get some dynamic posing in there. And of course, because she does have the good leg articulation, at least, you can get some pretty good sitting poses. You could probably have her and Cat Noir posed sitting on the edge of a building or a shelf, what have you, and it'll look pretty nice. But again, arm articulation is a big bummer. She doesn't have a waist or anything. It seems like it's all one piece, but the legs are attached in such a way that you can tilt a bit, so it's not too bad. But that's what you get in general with Ladybug. And of course, her uniform, all of this is printed on the fabric. If I had to guess, this was a white stretchy fabric with all of this printed on it, just the way it looks when you stretch a little too much. I could be wrong. It is a shame because, it sort of feels cheap, but then almost all of their outfits were sort of stretchy printed on before anyway, with a few exceptions. So that's not much of a dip. It's just, I hope it holds up over time is my main concern. Still, overall, she looks nice. Pretty good likeness to her art. She gets a pass. So we'll put Ladybug down for the moment. And we're going to take a look at Cat Noir. Now, Cat Noir here comes with his standard staff. In fact, I'll have to double check in a minute, but I think this is the same exact staff that all Playmates Cat Noirs, with an exception, have come with. Just standard black. The detail of the paw print is molded in there, but of course not painted. This Cat Noir, let's get his face in there if we can. This Cat Noir looks like he has seen some things. Those eyes are so wide. Like, the sculpt is fine, but I feel like those eyes are just impossibly wide. I mean, he is dealing with a lot this season, let's be real, but, okay, I'll stop. But, he has a different edging to his mask consistent with the art. The ears are deeper and more like costume cat ears, I feel like, compared to previous iterations. I mean, they look nice. I really like the dimensionality of these ears. They still have a tiny bit of flexibility, but they don't feel like they're going to fall apart. His hair has a nice sculpt with individual strands coming off here and there. Sadly, we never seem to get actual proper rooted hair for the boy dolls, but I'll take this because the sculpt work has gotten better with time. At least it has some dimension. And if you are so inclined, if you're good with paint, I'm sure you could make some of those sort of creases really pop and just bring this doll up another level. Nothing too crazy on his face paint. I did notice mine has a little bit of his eye missing there, unfortunately. A little bit bad quality control. Not the worst. Just simple, I guess, peachy pink lip. It's supposed to look natural, right? It looks a little dark to be natural, I think. But he gets a pass. He's okay. Simple turn at the head. Like Ladybug, he gets the unfortunate out to the side, forward and back arm. Nothing crazy. However, I will give him points for having his hands painted black. And actually, looking at this suit, the bell is about the same the bell always is. However, this suit, compared to his other ones that had like a fake leather on top, is just all the stretchy material, and it velcros in the front to mimic where the zipper is. And as you can see, his arms are completely molded in black plastic. Now that might look a little jarring, but I'm actually a fan. If you are going to cut costs and you're going to keep with his costume, that is a good way to do it, because if he's in costume, because you can't fully remove the costume. He has a mask. If he's in costume, he should have his gloves, so he should have his hands done in black. This is a good step. I honestly am a big fan that it doesn't just look like he's wearing a onesie. And of course, I feel like these cuffs are reused, but they look good. His ring is like barely, if you can even see it, it's barely, am I saying DuckTales now? His ring is like barely molded there. It is kind of sloppily done, honestly, but it's there. I could probably touch it up with some paint. He does have printed on details again. It's fine, but this new belt mold I'm actually a fan of. There's like a crisscross going on. You can see at the back where it's supposed to be like looped over itself. Yeah, let me point it directly at the camera. Good job. But it has the studs, comes to a pointed tip. I feel like the detailing on this belt is really nice. He has a paw print on the back there. And just like with Ladybug, there are still the double jointed knees. So you're going to be able to get some decent posing. He's going to be able to sit, but the arms are an unfortunate sacrifice. His boots seem to be similar, but not identical to previous versions. I feel like they did give him a new mold, with the top less rounded for the toe, but there's still a lot of molded details, honestly. And there's still sort of almost the cat paw to the tip of it, just a little bit different than it usually is. I don't mind it. I kind of wish they'd given a splash of silver to the tips of the boots, but I guess, again, they are sort of trying to cut down on some costs, so we get some sacrifices. It's just the shame that the gift set has to make the sacrifices too, but I mean, I guess this is what you get for just over 30 bucks. So, I mean, they're a cute set. I think they use the same body molds with the exceptions of the swapped out limbs that don't pose as much, which again, shame. But let me pause a moment and we will compare to some other previous versions of the dolls. All right, and here they are with Playmate's original run. of Ladybug and Cat Noir dolls. Now, as you can see, even at a distance, for Ladybug, this is a much more orangey red for the initial costume. They have gotten the tone better. Ooh, let's get them both in frame. Also, the face has gotten closer to the art. So there's that. The yo-yo is much bigger on the old one and has a string where it can be held or looped around like I have done. The old arms, like I mentioned, double jointed elbow, turn at the wrist, and still all the other articulation. They do seem to have the same core body proportions. So I think that confirms the suspicion that they, yes, are still using the same body. And just to show what I mean about those shoes, these are the old shoes. Like, they literally, they're not pretty. They get the job done, but they're not pretty. The new shoes, definitely more attention to detail. It's just a shame we can't have all the good stuff on one doll, but I guess that wouldn't keep us collecting, right? But yeah, that's that. And then with Cat Noir, so this was our first run of Cat Noir, and I just wanted to take a close-up look by himself to show you first how that hair is way less dimensional and the ears are just more simplified compared to the new one. Now you might notice maybe you can see, maybe you can't. I added a little green paint to his ring, and I added it to his staff just to make his details stand out. However, now for the moment of truth, I'm probably going to knock him over. I apologize. It seems like my suspicions are confirmed. They are indeed both the same staff down to the length. So if you already have one of the previous Cat Noirs and you get this one, you could always use one of your old staffs if you've touched it up. Or, you know, hey, another Cat Noir staff. Little shame that we didn't get a new one like Ladybug, but let's be real, Cat Noir always gets the short end of the stick. Now looking at the old belt tail, I notice we have less detail at the tip with this one, but we do have more texture, so that's a trade-off. Obviously no double loop because this is the old design, and there's that like fake leather. I'm talking about that like vinyl pleathery thing. Now unfortunately, you saw how I had this guy posed holding his staff initially. This guy, because he doesn't have that articulation at the elbow, cannot do that. So like he's so awkward with it, and that's what makes me so sad. I don't think there's a single really good way you can pose him with this staff that doesn't look weird. So I wish they had maybe thought about that. Or like if they're gonna make it where the arms can't pose, make one sort of pose to hold the staff, or, you know, yo-yo as far as like maybe a bent arm and then the other one straight. But, you know, it's fine. And one more comparison, well, I guess two more comparisons, but one other somewhat recent comparison in just a moment. And now we have the time to team up Ladybug and Cat Noir alongside them that weirdly never actually seem to get their stateside release. Maybe it's because of the way things are in the world right now, but I feel like it's a shame because I feel like they are some of the best Ladybug and Cat Noir dolls we have gotten to date. The Cat Noir doll, while he does have a fabric tail, has some of the nice hair sculpting. Again, the ears are sort of deeper and give off more of a costume vibe. I did add these, so I can't say that it came with that. But I like this honeycomb texture you can see in there. And he came with silver toes painted on his boots, which just the simple detail goes a long way. It looks so good. So that's why I'm saying it wouldn't have been too much for them to do that. Also, based on the design of the old before Playmates dolls, he has his staff in communication mode, which makes this one of the unique Playmates dolls, because I think he's the only Playmates doll to date to come with his staff in communication mode. So that's definitely something. I also like the face on this one, I think, better than other iterations. It still, you know, gives Cat Noir vibes, but his eyes don't look way too wide and like cracked out. You know, it's a nice version of him. And I feel like, again, he really benefits from that double jointed elbow and the full articulation. So I feel like that's really where they missed a point there. Actually, I had to check at first that they weren't the same head mold because it felt very similar, but I think they retooled it for season 6 even so. Now, the Ladybug here, I like the texture of her suit better. It's all pleather, so the other one kind of wins on that because this is a pain in the butt to adjust at all. But she does get a point for them going all the way down to her boots, because that helps convey that it's all one piece and not just, you know, her little onesie pajamas. And like with Cat Noir, she has the communicating version of her yo-yo. It seems insanely big, but compared to the new Ladybug yo-yo, I mean, I'll definitely take it. I feel like this face is the least reminiscent of her actual look, so point to the new doll for that. It's just a shame. It feels like we can't get a good Ladybug and Cat Noir face both in the same set. But, you know, again, even with the pleather hindering her articulation, she can do some pretty good poses. I really feel that's where they messed up on this line. However, to be fair, let's compare them to less articulation. I will be back in a moment with the budget dolls. And here, of course, we have the budget version of Marinette and Cat Noir. My daughter did have the budget version of Ladybug. However, she has been well loved and would not have stood up to this review very well. So we're using my dolls. So obviously the budget Cat Noir is shorter. I feel like they did a better job on his face overall to get him closer to the show counterpart. However, hair is very simple, very similar to the old Playmates doll. I think, in fact, they might have used, if not the same head mold, very similar. His molded on outfit does look good, of course, but this is the sort of, you know, he's not doing anything crazy. He can't do the splits. I mean, he can, but only in one direction. He's not doing anything. Okay, I lied. I forgot. His hips do that. But, like, this is fun for a kid, but he's not doing any crazy poses. And that's what these are sort of like almost a hybrid from, which makes me kind of sad because I like to collect the other dolls because they had more articulation in the fabric costumes. But if this is the way we're going, you know, it's a little disappointing. Hopefully, you know, Playmates can still figure themselves out a bit. Similarly with Marinette here, I feel like they're doing sort of a hybrid of these bodies that were almost similar to the reveal ones but using the maybe legs from the previous iterations. That seems like it would make sense. And of course cut costs for them. It's just, I don't know. I know that their wrists were a complaint before, but I really liked the double jointed arms. I'm not gonna give up on that. But final thoughts as I try to get Marinette to balance, and she doesn't want to. Final thoughts are, it's a nice gift set. I really like the attention to sculpting details. I like that they didn't just reuse the same Cat Noir suit they've given us 21 million times. However, the changes to articulation are not necessarily welcome. It's going to be harder to get them in a nice pose on the shelf, and I'm all about posing my collection. However, we will manage. I think, honestly, people are going to welcome them either way because season 6 did redesign the characters, so it's nice to have a version of that to collect. I just hope Playmates can hopefully bring back the elbows, and if we don't bring back the elbows, at least maintain a consistent quality where they still look nice. And if they look like the characters, I won't complain as much, because I've seen even some Jack-specific dolls from different Disney movies, and when they look like the character, I don't mind as much that their clothes are almost paper, which is a weird trade-off. Anyway, yeah, I hope you guys can find them if you want them. This has been another day, another dolly. Bye!